I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
There were about 800 people in my high school graduating class. And at the first high school reunion, our 10-year, we had a very good representation of African American students. I remember seeing a lot of my friends. We partied. We had a really good time. And then I think there were a couple that I missed. I think I remember the 20-year, there were way less Black people that showed up. And then most recently, I don't want to tell you how old it is, but there were only two of us, me and Albert Batch, who showed up. And, I was really disappointed. And I kind of asked around and was questioning what's happened. It's like every year, less and less of us are showing up at the reunion. Why aren't you all coming? And I had one person say, "Girl, Black people don't go to reunions." But our school was very interactive. We were there during the years of all the racial trauma. So we went through some things together in high school. But Black people were a very integral part of Fanger High School. Why wasn't anybody coming to the reunions? And I felt a little bit of disappointment because I felt like people did not care or they had their own lives to run, but they just were not interested in coming to the reunion, even though some of us have been keeping in touch with each other. I don't know. Should you go to your high school reunion? What if you didn't like high school? What if you were the kind of person that just wanted to go to school and then get out of there and have nothing else to do with anybody anymore? And in Jody Blanco's book, Please Stop Laughing at Me, she talked about going to her high school reunion where she had been bullied, and none of those people even remembered that they had done so and did not even recognize themselves in her book. What do you think, sisters? Should you go to your high school reunion? And is it profitable to do so?
Well, I'll start. I have gone to my 20-year reunion and I've gone to my 30-year reunion. I didn't go to my last one. I think it was on Zoom because of COVID. But I kind of can understand why, as the years go by, people stop going. I think it's interesting that your friend said that Black people don't go to the reunions because what I found was quite the opposite. Now, whites were in the majority when you all were there. It was about 50-50 when I was there. And by the time Naima graduated from the same high school, it was probably more Black. So the neighborhood and the populace had changed. But
Mhm.
what I found was that the Black kids were the ones who planned the reunions and went to the reunions. They went to the 20th, and then I think there were only by the 30th, there were two or three more. Some of the football players and some of the other kids had come because we were really disappointed that a lot of the white kids didn't come to our reunions because we were a pretty good group of kids. And I mean, obviously, this was Chicago and this was the 70s. So there were always kind of strife. But I think because the sports teams were integrated and our drill team was integrated, especially the first year that I was on. The second year that I was on, my senior year, there was only one white girl because the school had changed so much. uh i I think going to reunions is tricky. My 20th, I went because my two closest friends in the world were going to be there, and I hadn't seen them in years, even though we'd grown up together. We just kind of lost touch, more or less. And my 30-year, neither one of them came, and one of them has since died. So I'm not as interested, even though I had close acquaintances, I guess, and some friends. But for a lot of people, high school wasn't a great time. Now, I had a pretty good time because of those close friends. but it's kind of traumatizing for a lot of people to go back, especially if they were bullied, if they weren't very popular, if they were gay and hadn't come out. There are a lot of things that are different now with going to your high school reunion, because I think, like I said, I think it's funny that your people said, uh, well, black people don't go to reunions, because we tend to go to reunions. We tend to have family reunions and things like that. So, I don't know. I think maybe.
Yeah. Well, I would say that Black people definitely go to reunions. Like you say, the same school, Finger High School, by the time I got there in the 70s, it was all Black. And, it went from being majority white when Barbara was there to half and half when you were there, to by the time I was there, I think we only had like maybe 2 whites in our whole graduating class. But, Black people plan a reunion and all of that, because that's all who it was.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of things you see change. And now I've been to every one of our reunions. We just went, I think our last one was the 40th year reunion. I went to the 10th, I went to the 20th, I went to the 30th, I went to the 40th. And of course, each year more people have passed on. So the older you get, the more you have of people who are not there because they have passed away. But I think one of the biggest things you notice at that 10-year reunion is like, what happened to the ones who were maybe very quiet and shy? They might have blossomed in their lives. And the ones who were all popular and everything, they may have made some bad choices, and they kind of might even have just be washed out, whereas like their best days are behind them. So you do see some interesting changes. And I think it's always, it's an interesting thing for people to look at, especially if maybe high school wasn't the best time in their life. It's going to change. Like the saying goes, every flower has its time to blossom. And some people, like you were saying, that book about Please Stop Laughing at Me, and when she had been teased and everything, and kind of bullied during high school, and then came back for the reunion, she was all successful and just a totally different person. But on the inside, she was still feeling a little bit of that apprehension, because the memories of that time comes back, and you momentarily become that person again, until you realize, wait a minute, that's not me. And why am I still intimidated by these people? Not who they were. But usually in the 10-year reunion, you see some interesting changes in people. And sometimes the people that you thought were going to really be this outstanding person, they're like, ooh, what happened to them? And then the person who you didn't hardly even notice, they got a great career going on, got family, married, children, happy, and all of that. So sometimes when I see people who get really depressed and feel like failures in high school, I'm thinking, just wait a minute, just hold
Just
on,
wait. Yeah.
everything will change.
And
And
that's the thing. I think a lot of people don't realize that for some people, some of those most popular girls, the ones who had the great
mm,
figures and all the guys were after them, those were the ones who uh that was their best time.
that was the best time.
And
Mhm.
that's and what you
That was
don't
their
realize,
last
because
hurrah.
everybody has this thing about high school, and they think whoever you are in high school, that's who you're always going to be.
Forever.
Well,
Not so.
10 years
Yeah,
makes a lot of difference. 20 years
it
makes a lot
does.
of difference. I mean, I was very, withdrawn as far as boys were concerned in high school. I wasn't one of the popular ones that way. And I remember going to my 20-year reunion and my friends saying, "Oh, Cheryl Charles can flirt now." And I thought, I'm 37 years old. You know,
You
I'm
have
not
confidence now.
I'm not 17 anymore. I've lived in several places. I've all over the country. This doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So it was funny that I had gotten the confidence that I didn't have at 17, but and I stopped feeling like that 17-year-old for many years after I'd made myself go away to college at a place where I didn't know anybody, which I
Yeah.
did purposely for that reason.
Yeah. You got to reinvent yourself.
I decided that I needed that independence. That I didn't need the crutch of always being one of the three. So where I
Oh,
needed
the
to be,
Barbara sister.
yes, or no, or just where are the other two because of
Oh
silly
yeah, because you had a crew that you hung with, Celia, Betty, and Celia. Yeah.
all the time. And if somebody saw two of us, they'd ask where the other one was.
Yeah.
If
But
they saw,
a lot of people envy that because they didn't have a clique. So
yes,
you'd be
yes,
surprised how
Children.
many people
Yeah.
probably looked at that and say, "Wow, I bet they have so much confidence because they have their friends, so they don't have to feel insecure. They got people." Yeah, a
yeah,
lot of
I
people
remember it
envy
was
that.
me,
and the thing
Rosalind, and
is,
Diane, and
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
But the thing is that I knew what I wanted to do, and I also knew, even at 17, even feeling homely and insecure and unpopular, even though I did all kinds of stuff in school. I was in
Yeah.
tight nets and
yeah. You were a
choir,
tight knit.
and I did all kinds of things. But even knowing that, I also knew this is a stepping stone. This is not
Yeah.
who I'm going to
Well, this is
be
not
for
who
the
I'm
rest
going
of
to
my
be.
life. I'm
Yeah.
going to go somewhere and be something else. I'm going to go away to college and I'm going to discover who I really want to be. And that's the thing is that, so going back to the high school reunion, it was nice to see my friends and see the ones who had gotten married right out of college and
Yeah.
already had grown kids by the 20-year reunion.
Yeah. Ooh,
Some of them
yeah.
were on their second or third marriage.
Yeah.
So because back in the day, a lot of people would get married right out of college, or
Yeah,
right out of
Right
right
high
out
out
of
of
school,
high
high
school. Yeah,
school.
we had
right
a
out of
couple of
high
couple of
school.
we had a
Yeah,
couple of couples that did that. And
So
some that actually were still married,
yeah,
some that, as a matter of fact, I'm trying to think. I think most of the couples that got married right out of high school, they were still together. So that was pretty
yeah.
good.
A lot of
mm,
the ones they weren't. Sometimes they were still friends,
Yeah.
but
yeah,
they were
Especially
no longer
if they had
together.
children together.
Yes, but they were no longer. Yeah, they were no longer together. And 17, 18 is really 19 is really young to get married. Now that we look at through that prism, but there were a lot of people who did.
Yeah.
That we were baby boomers. A lot of baby boomers did that.
yeah,
Yeah.
So, so the fact that I didn't have that, I didn't have kids yet.
Mm.
It was just totally different. I had done something else, and people say, "Oh, I always knew you were going to make it." Well, I knew it, but I didn't think they did.
It's
Well,
interesting
John
how
said
people
something.
think
John,
about it.
my son, said something very interesting once when he went back to his high school reunion. He said that the kids he had gone to school with, if they had not left the city, if they had not gone off to college, they were
Stuck.
still the
Yes.
same person. It was like
Yes.
they were still in high school. Here, John had gone off to Hawaii, had studied abroad in Japan, uh, had done a missions trip in South America. So he had all of that experience behind him that matured him and made him a different person. And he felt like anyone who had stayed in Chicago and done nothing else, they were the same. There was
Yeah.
nothing that had changed them.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
everybody makes that observation when you go away and you grow and then you come back, and those who didn't leave, they didn't grow. They're still that same person, same conversation. They didn't grow. And then you can
Yeah.
tell the difference. You can definitely tell the difference between those who went away and those who stayed. And I think most of my friends went away to college, but there were a few who kind of stayed behind. And it's like their lives didn't really change. They're still kind of going through little silly personal dramas and all of that.
Which
Still
we
kind
could
of,
do anyway, but
yeah, you do
I
anyway. But there's a different perspective on life you
yes,
have
yes,
when you have left. And I think because our children have left the country, even there's a
yes,
Yes.
whole different outlook on life. And
There's a global wisdom that comes
yeah,
with that.
yeah, definitely, it's totally different. But I think one thing that you realize how important it is.
whoops.
I guess she went to answer the phone. Well, I'll just say that going back to your high school reunion can be a very enlightening experience, and it can also help you use the opportunity to tell people about yourself who may not have known very much about you. I know at my high school reunion, my two best friends were not there. That was kind of sad for me. One of my friends had already died at the 10 year, and
Wow.
then the other two lived so far away that they had no intention of coming. Uh, but I had brought with me copies of the newspaper that I wrote for. I had an article in that issue. I passed them out to all my friends, told them all my little story about becoming a Christian, how my life had changed, because everybody wants to know, what have you been doing the last 10 years? So for me, that was an exciting opportunity, and also a revelation. I met one of the guys that I had always liked. I had a little crush on Alexander Cowan,
Yeah, I
and
remember that.
Alexander was a lot like Daddy, actually. And I was thinking to myself, as Alexander was guzzling everybody's drink, I was thinking, now see, I would have been sitting there with Mama's face, judging him as he is drinking everybody's drink, because I didn't drink. And another one of my friends who I did bring with me, she didn't drink. And we watched him going around the table making jokes about being a professional alcoholic and guzzling up everybody's drink. And I was going, yep, that would be Daddy, and I would be being Mama.
Yeah.
He was so handsome and so talented, but he did not make the next reunion after that because he had died. So that was really
Wow.
hard. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we had a few people that oh, I didn't go to my 10 year. I think I was living in California by then. Let me see. Yes, yeah, I think I was living in California, so I didn't go. And I really wasn't that interested in going because I said I just saw you all 10 years ago.
I
But
know.
it's really not that long ago. But at my 20 year, it was interesting, and then at my 30 year, it was interesting because people, they come up and they confess, "Oh, I always had a crush on you," and all this
I
other kind of stuff.
know. I
And
was
that
so
kind of stuff,
surprised when this one guy said this to me, and because we used to talk all the time. I didn't know he really liked me.
and that's the thing is that, I recently had a conversation with somebody who was telling me about all these guys who liked me. I said, actually, when I was really, really insecure, that would have been nice to know.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing is that you don't know that later on. I mean, when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
when you're insecure and 16, it would have been nice to know
it
that
would
people
have been
thought you
nice
were cute
Somebody
and all
nice
that
like,
stuff.
to feel
yeah.
that someone was that found me attractive. So it's
Mhm.
funny how like you say, your perspective changes. And I was glad. I was always glad to see a lot of people, but I wasn't pining for anyone, and the ones that I had been pining for, I never saw them. They never came to the reunions anyway.
Oh,
So
you know what's funny though? If you ever had somebody who you really thought was cute and all that, and then at the reunion they're flirting with you, it's kind of like you
Well,
about
I'll tell
20
you
years
something
too late.
even more
I would have
scary.
just been thrilled 20 years ago. Right
yes,
now,
but now go away.
yeah, I'm married. It don't matter.
Go
Even
away.
more scary than that, though, were the ones that I liked. These really the handsome dudes that were like either a little older than me or in my class I liked. Do you know none of those guys came to the 50-year reunion because they had passed? And I was thinking, oh man, if I'd have married them,
You'd have been
I
a
would
widow.
have been there without a spouse. I would, and I'm thinking that these people had died young, like in their 40s. They had not even been the ones to get to 50 years old yet.
Yeah,
So now,
we
speaking
had
of
a few like that.
spouses, should you take your spouse to your high school reunion if they didn't go
Oh
to the
yeah. You don't want anybody hitting on you that, I was like, oh nope, I'm with my husband. Get out of my
Well,
face.
it's funny because Sean has been to two, which he reminds me of all the time, and he won't go to his own
Oh,
because the
really?
people no, because the people that and it's not like he's embarrassed I'm going to be loud or anything, but
You probably were.
but he really isn't. He had his group of friends, and the people that he wants to see, he
He
sees.
sees, he don't want
And he actually, there was a friend of his who died a few years ago, and he had thought it was the father. and ended up being the guy that he had gone to school with. I think this guy
Oh.
had been in a wheelchair for a while because he had been in a swimming accident. So we had,
Oh.
and he went to his wake, and he said it was like a reunion there. And he was saying, some of these guys, it
Funerals
was
usually
great
are.
to see it was great to see these people. So he didn't feel the need to go to a high school reunion. But he was saying some of these people, they look really, really tough. You know,
Yeah, like they had a hard life.
yes, they had the hard life. So so he's gone back, but he's gone to mine. Like I said, he reminds me that I went to two of yours, but it was nice because, like you said, there were these people. Like one guy was flirting with me, and I remember he used to sit behind me and pop my bra strap, and it was
Oh,
so annoying. And then he said,
ooh,
"Oh,
that
I just
deserved a
really,
punch.
really liked you, and in my immaturity, I just didn't know how to say anything." And I said, "You need to stop, with this nonsense." I said, "You are full of it." And I said, "Come over and meet my husband." And then all of a sudden he did, "Oh, I'll come over and meet him later." I never saw him the
Never.
rest
Oh
of
yeah, he's gonna
the
see.
time.
See, are you available?
And then there were the 20-year reunions where people like hooked up with folks
Yeah.
that
When
they
people
did
were
not
between marriages and
they
they're or
they were either
newly
between
divorced.
marriages or their spouse had not come or
Yeah.
something. Because I remember there's a story that there was a spouse that did not come, and she had gotten married right out of high school, and she ended up hooking up with somebody else who was there with his, like, I don't know, second spouse maybe.
Yeah.
But it was like and
Well,
I
you get a lot of that. People
yes.
maybe fantasizing about the person they should have been with that they used to like in high school and all that, and then so you hook up at a reunion. It's not the same because you're not the same people.
You
Yeah.
know what? And that's the thing, is that so should you go to your high school reunion? Maybe not, if this could ruin the rest of your life. Because
Yeah,
because a lot of people, they lose that perspective and they forget that they're no longer that age.
that person.
There is a reason that I do not friend exes. I do not
Oh,
I do not friend. I have no ex. Not that I'm on Facebook much anymore, anyway. But I had never friended any exes. Sometimes you like wonder. I wonder what so and so do. Well, you can Google them and find out. But
That's true.
do not send friend requests to exes,
well, I
because
had somebody that told me that they tried to find me when they got a divorce. They were, let me see what she's doing, because they thought, well, maybe if she's not married, maybe that might happen.
no, no, no,
Oh
no.
yeah, they said they
Your
tried to
feet
look me
go
up.
in one direction for a reason, so you can keep
Yeah.
moving forward, not backward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what's funny? You look at taking your spouse to a reunion, and I know, Sultan, of course, knew he was older than I, but I don't think it really, really hit him, the 20-year age difference, what
Right.
that meant, until he went to my 20-year class reunion. Because by that time we had married, we had a book, and he's sitting there with people who could have been his children, and
That 20-year is different when you are sitting there and you're close to 40 and he's close to 60.
yeah, definitely a big difference. So I mean, he was able to amuse himself. I mean, because he loved to talk, so he's somewhere lecturing, because we had our books there and everything. So he's being Mr. Professor and talking to people, and he had a crowd of folks around him. So he was happy. As long as he had an audience, he was happy. But I know he was like, wow, she really is younger than I am. Because usually we didn't notice it, because I was always around his friends, and I kind of could blend in a little bit. So you didn't really notice that we were a whole generation apart.
Yes,
But
yes,
at the reunion, I
yes.
think it really hit him, like, wow, she was in a whole different era. So yeah,
What
that
was
was an interesting experience.
well was funny because people would look at Sean and go, "Oh, don't I remember?" He says, "No, no, no, I didn't go here."
Don't I remember you? Yep, I think you did. Okay, yeah,
Because there were white kids
yeah.
there, so they were just assuming he was one of the other white kids. And he says, "Nope, nope," you know.
Don't I remember you? He should have played it off. Yeah, I do remember
I
you.
know. He's not like that though. He's like way too reserved, like he would not be like
He's
me.
not silly like us.
Oh yes, of course we were in homeroom together, weren't we? So that would be me. This is probably why he doesn't go to his reunion and take me. Uh
Playing it off and saying, "Oh yeah, we were in the." Oh, the scary thing is when you meet somebody at one of these reunions, and they know you, they remember you. And if you're not wearing a name tag, you're like,
You have no
who is
idea
this
who they
person? I
are.
don't
Yeah.
even know who this
Yes,
person is.
yes.
And you don't want to say, I'm sorry, who are you?
There were some of those, but like if you didn't participate in any clubs or organizations, if you just one of those who went to school and went home, people don't remember you because
Yeah.
And you know what?
you
Sometimes even if you're in different things, you just really I don't know how many you had, Naima, in your class, but I were like 400 or something an hour.
yeah, I think we had like 400 something hours
And
too.
you know
I
what?
didn't
You
even close
just
to 800.
really don't remember people. So I never took it personally if somebody didn't remember me
Yeah.
because if we weren't in that same group, if we weren't in chorus together or tight nets or library club or all the other stuff, and there are some of those people I just don't remember. I just don't remember.
Now
Most of the people I
I had a couple
remember,
people who didn't recognize me at first. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's you," because I guess I look different. I had long hair and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
That can change your whole look and everything. And I wasn't wearing glasses because I had glasses on in high school and everything. Had braces since then, so face
yeah.
looked a little different. So certain things, like if you change certain things, you might not be recognizable at first.
Yeah, well, everybody who's seen me says I look exactly the same. So
Uh,
I don't know if
You
that's good or
lying, but thank you.
bad. Yeah,
yeah,
considering I didn't think I looked good, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
yeah.
But
Oh, you look
but
the same.
yeah, exactly. Like, oh, sorry, you look the same.
But now, have you noticed like some people who really, really, really got old, and you're all the same age, but some people they look like they really went through some things. Because
Yes.
Some people do not age well.
yeah,
One thing that will age you, divorce will age you,
yeah.
and
And if
different
you had
Hey,
kinds of
drug use,
trauma.
drugs and
Drug,
alcohol,
yes,
drug and
absolutely.
alcohol. More so than even than divorce because I've been divorced
yeah.
and
I mean, it can be a
I'm
stressor,
still
but
divorced.
sometimes that can be a thing to make you look better because you're like, oh, I'm free,
I'm
I
free.
know,
Yes.
and
right?
blossom. It was a bad
And
marriage.
we had this one guy who came to our reunion. Nobody knew who he was, and he was laughing. He said, "Well, I spent so much time in detention. That's why y'all don't know me."
That's funny.
Well, one of my friends,
I was getting put
my
out of
friend's
class.
cousin who had gotten kicked out of school, uh, he came to our reunion because he had gotten kicked out of school, but he says, well, these were the ones that he liked. This was the school that he liked, but he was such a bad boy, and everybody knew who he was too, and I remembered him.
Wow.
Um,
So
and I couldn't remember his real name. I could only remember his
the
nickname.
nickname.
And he said, and he told me what his, and I won't even say it here. But I said,
He
but
might
I
be
called
watching.
him. I said, I'm sorry, I don't remember because he was my friend's cousin.
Uh,
So, um,
so should you go to your class reunion if you didn't graduate? Like if you dropped out or got put
yeah,
out?
you know what? I think you should because I think that those were your formative years, and people would still like to see you.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
and everybody doesn't know that you didn't graduate too, because when we're
They may
walking
not
across the
remember.
stage, it is
yeah,
all about you. You
yeah,
remember that you were there. You know who was in front of you, and you might know who was behind you, but you might not remember
Yeah,
everybody who
you don't
was there.
remember. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's okay, even if you say you didn't graduate. It's
Yeah,
like that's
It
okay.
doesn't matter now. I mean,
It
it
10,
does.
doesn't
20,
matter
30 years
now.
later, you're doing whatever you're doing in life now. So it
Yes.
doesn't matter. Yeah. So, well, it's about to go. One last question. If you feel like you're not successful in life, should you still go to your high school reunion?
Yes, because how you define success, if you don't have enough money,
If you're
or
not married or don't have
you're not
children or
married or
been
don't have
divorced
children,
or been to
you know
jail.
what? It's a time where you can go back to when life was a possibility, when all your things were a possibility, and it's a way to remind yourself that they still are.
Yes, right.
That they
Exactly.
still are, no matter where you
Yeah.
are. If it's your 50th reunion,
Yeah.
you still have life.
You're still
This
breathing.
if you're still on this side of the dirt, you still have potential to do something else in your life.
That's
There
right.
are no failures. You go and you say, "Well, I've been doing this, I've been doing that. I'm trying this or I'm trying that," because it's really not about bragging on your successes. It's about showing up for people who were with you in your formative years, who
Yeah.
were with
Yeah.
you when you were becoming. you know.
Become.
And
That's
it can
right.
definitely be a life changer. I got a
Yeah.
chance to speak at the memorial service of all the ones who had passed on
Oh,
and got a chance to share about Jesus being the resurrection and the life. I mean, we're getting up there, and it was important to share that with my classmates and say, hey, let's spend eternity together. Yeah, we were in high school for 4 years. Let's go on a little longer.
Yeah,
So
well,
yeah.
I
Did
was
any of them
happy
say,
about
"Well,
that.
no, Barbara, I don't think I want to see
exactly.
you no
Some of
more"?
y'all I don't want to see after I leave here. I'm sorry. Some of y'all know I'm good.
Well, we gotta go. So make sure you like us on Facebook, Three Black Moms, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms, and join us again next week, 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, and then again at 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, and 7 p.m. Eastern. And if you've got some comments about your high school reunion experience, feel free to share them with us on our Facebook page. Until that time, I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl.
I'm Barbara. We are three Black moms. Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.